everybody, what's up? This is the WWE 2011 Extreme Rules pay-per-view review. Couple thoughts before we even get going. Two major thoughts I was hearing all this week leading up to this pay-per-view. Oh, it's gonna suck because it's all gimmick matches. Oh, it's gonna suck because hardcore matches aren't technical. First of all, hardcore matches not being technical isn't always true. Second of all, if you tune in to watch something like a tables match or a ladder match or, heaven forbid, a TLC match, you're not tuning in to see a technical match anyways, so get off the shtick. And if you tune into something like Extreme Rules, One Night Stand, the TLC pay-per-view, the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view, you're not tuning in for a technical pay-per-view anyway, are you? Stop making yourself look like an idiot. Stop making yourself look like you're grasping at straws so that you have something to argue about. I don't want to offend anybody, that's just my honest opinion, that's my take on it. Do what you will. If you don't like what I say, box is down there for a reason. Really, I don't know why they named the pay-per-view after WrestleMania anything other than Revenge, because it is 90% return matches or stupid drama that came out of WrestleMania matches. So I'm suggesting to the wind, because I know WWE doesn't watch this channel, that anything after WrestleMania ever just be called Revenge. Like, it made sense when it was called Backlash, because that's a similar idea, and they were acknowledging that that's what it was. It's the same as, you know, you might as well name whatever pay-per-view they have in February The Middle, because all it is the middle between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Again, it's not that it doesn't serve a purpose, it's just that that's what it is, and you shouldn't try to dress it up as anything else. Anyways, here is the show. Opened up the show, we had Lawler, Josh Matthews, and Booker T on commentary. Not crazy about Booker T, like I've said, but we had no Cole, and it was awesome, and I got my hopes up a lot. Was I disappointed? You'll have to wait and see. By the way, I'm really hoping that the amount I've actually written here doesn't reflect how long I actually spend on this video, because if it does, we're going to be here a while, and I would suggest you do like me, get some munchies, get a drink, because I already did. Alright, we started off, ironically enough, with the last man standing match, Punk and Orton. Punk and Orton, I said it at WrestleMania, I said it in the preview for WrestleMania, I said it in the preview for this show. This was the match of WrestleMania. If you don't agree with me, if you have a big problem with me making that proclamation, again, the box is down there for a reason. Started off the match, Orton was in the ring, Punk started coming out with the entire Nexus, which is what I feared. Yeah, I did, because I wanted Punk to get a clean win in this match, because he didn't get one at WrestleMania, like I thought he should have. Things are falling down, that's not cool. But before they can even come out of the entranceway, the general manager dings in, and for once, does something cool, sends the Nexus back to the back. Punk starts freaking out a little bit. From the outside of the ring, starts unwrapping one of the pads on one of the turnbuckles before the match even starts. Match starts off, typical slugfest type stuff that you get in a hardcore match. They go to the inside, they go to the outside, they go to the inside, they go to the outside. It looks at one point like there's going to be a bit of psychology for you psychology nuts, because it looks like Orton at one point was going to focus on Punk's chest, unless I'm entirely mistaken. But Punk goes outside, finds himself a kendo stick, brings Orton and the stick into the ring. Orton gets the stick, tries to use it, blocked by a big boot in the gut by Punk. Punk's beatdown on Orton continues, including a back suplex on Orton. Punk tries for his springboard elbow, which is met by Orton's kendo stick, and Orton then goes through his typical motions of a couple of clotheslines and that wicked, beautiful back reverse backbreaker type maneuver that he does. Tries for the suspension DDT, and it is blocked by Punk, who sends Orton headfirst into the exposed turnbuckle bolt. So there is that story finished off. Punk props up a chair in the opposite corner, but ends up eating it after a series of GTS RKO attempt and reversals. Back outside, Orton begins ragdolling Punk between the apron and the ringside. Yes, he does, including a nice slam. I can read my own writing, I promise you. Punk comes back from all of that with one swift kick to Orton's temple / back of the ear. It was one of those shots where you couldn't really tell where he got him, but it was effective. Orton back suplexes Punk onto the rail, back inside. An RKO is avoided by a leg sweep by Punk, and a GTS by Punk gets a 9 count on on Randy Orton. If you'll recall, this is a last man standing match. Count to 10 and you win, more or less. Punk beats down Orton in the corner, and Russian leg sweeps him onto a folding chair in the center of the ring. Orton comes back with an RKO to Punk and gets a 9 count. Orton clotheslines Punk into the crowd. Suspension DDT is countered, and Orton goes spine first into the ring post. Punk then uses the steel chair necktie on Orton. For those of you that don't know what the steel chair necktie is, it's where you unfold the chair, stick the guy's head in the chair, and run the chair and the guy neck first into the post. It's a dirty little bit of business that I did not think I would see on a PG-rated WWE pay-per-view. So kudos for that. The announce table GTS gets countered into an RKO. On the announce table, Punk counters the GTS onto the steps. Punk sells like a champ. Starts trying to get up. Starts using his kendo stick to get around like a crutch, selling that he is injured. Again, a little bit of psychology for you psychology nuts out there. It's awesome like that. Orton nails Punk with a while he's hung up on the turnbuckle with the kendo stick multiple times, finishing him off with a super RKO for the win. Great match. Kind of what I expected from these guys. I was really glad there was no outside interference. Decent amount of time, started off the show amazingly well. Then we have a bunch of promotional crap. We have a promo for Rock's birthday on Raw tomorrow. When your pay-per-views are selling your weekly shows, it's not a good sign. Just saying. King, they take a break to watch King leave his announced position and go back to the back because he's got his tag team match with Cole coming up later. They do a recap of the draft. It's like, yes, these are the people that are on Raw, these are the people that are on SmackDown, etc. And then they recap Sheamus' attack on Kofi Kingston on SmackDown, obviously announcing that Sheamus and Kofi are going to fight now for the US title. So, what I had originally heard through the grapevine, that Sheamus was going to fight Sin Cara as a bonus match on tonight's show, was apparently, obviously not true. They had to do this, though, because right now both of these second place belts are on SmackDown, and by that I mean the Intercontinental and the US title. Not saying they're not important, but even when the US title was in WCW, and the Intercontinental title was in WWF, they were the second place titles to the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, Raw needs a second place title, and when Kofi Kingston was the Intercontinental Champion, it made sense. He looked good with a second place title around his waist, around his repertoire or whatever. So this I'm a lot happier about, because if it had been Sin Cara, I wouldn't have wanted him to win because he would have squashed Sheamus, and I wouldn't have wanted Sheamus to win because it would have squashed Sin Cara just trying to make his debut in the last 2 weeks. So there was nothing good. Again, I think I mentioned this in my preview. I'll have to go back and check. But there's nothing good that could have come out of that match either way. Somebody would have lost, and somebody would have taken a back step, and neither one of those guys need to. First little bit, like you normally get when you've got a strong guy and a fast, and a strong guy and a fast guy, is the strong guy ends up looking slow. Sheamus just beats the hell out of Kofi Kingston, sending him into the guardrail over and over and over again. Kingston fights back with kick after kick after kick. As he does, Sheamus goes chest first onto a table. Kofi eats more guardrail. Sheamus manhandles Kingston back into the ring. Sheamus hangs Kofi over the ropes and hits him in the ribs with an entire table. Because that's, this was a table. I'm really not doing a good job of announcing the bonus match. This was a tables match set up by Teddy Long, by the way. So, Kofi gets table in the ribs, which is awesome. I'm pretty sure that's how he wanted to spend his Sunday night, not gonna lie. Drops the table on Kofi multiple times. And this is where it stops looking like a staged match, and just ends up looking like a brawl. All he does is he sees the guy on the floor, picks up a table, drops it on him. Does it a couple times, and then in a brilliant bit of arrogance, drops the table on him for the last time and just stands on it. And poses and pumps himself up, which was kind of awesome. Sheamus puts the table, hooks it up on, leans it up on the turnbuckle. Kofi tries to go face first. Kofi rolls up and does a double stomp to Sheamus. Kofi tries an inside-out suplex and it is blocked, and there's a big conflict at the top rope. Kingston hits the Trouble in Paradise on Sheamus from the apron to the outside. Puts Sheamus on the table with a boom drop through the table. Kingston is your winner. Kingston is your United States champion. nice little extra match. It wasn't, it's not going to take anything away from the matches that were scheduled, but it was a nice little bit of filler, considering some of the bullshit that we've got from WWE in the past when they've had filler matches. I'm really sorry that I kind of rambled through that one, but it wasn't that long or detailed a match, so whatever. We have an interview with R-Truth in the back, who is doing his amazing heel turn that I love and apparently nobody else does. Still looks like he's losing his shit, starts wailing off about a big conspiracy against him and whatever. The commentators, Ross and Lawler versus Swagger and Cole in a country whipping match. Did anybody think this was going to be anything but a joke? No. Cole comes out in bubble wrap, first of all, in case you were wondering if this was going to be a joke. They all kind of fumble around in the ring for a while. Eventually, King gets his strap taken away, and he gets tied up into the ropes and beaten down by Cole and Swagger for quite a while. Swagger beats down the King by himself for a while. King fights back. King is chopped and ankle-locked by Swagger until it is broken up by good old JR. JR tags in. This is beautiful. It's not anything that'll ever be taken seriously in life, but JR whips the hell out of Swagger, and JR puts Swagger in the ankle lock. Isn't that a pretty picture? I don't even like the guy, but I am in mourning right now for Swagger's career. I really, really am. Swagger tags in Cole. JR sits there and gets himself all jacked up and beats Cole down for a while. JR then hits Jack Swagger with a low blow, but while he's doing that, Cole gets the roll-up and the win. So the Cole thing is going to keep going like a really, really muddy snowball going down a really steep cliff. That's a horrible metaphor for a horrible situation, so deal with it. If you don't like it, the box is down there. We have a preview for Over the Limit. Over the Limit is pretty much the only pay-per-view right now that in its title doesn't tell you what it is. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but whatever. Cena's got a promo in the back. He does his blah 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 Cena thing. I'm going to win, and I'm Superman, and I have cleaner underwear than you, and da 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 da. I wear shorts in the winter because I'm Superman. He could have said that, and it probably would have been better than whatever the fuck he actually did say. But Ray and Cody in the Falls Count Anywhere match. Gonna send a shout out that I send out a lot to the WWE. Whoever their audio video people are, put together amazing, amazing video preamble packages for the big matches at the pay-per-views, and this one was no exception. And this is the one that actually used the theme of the night, which was Justice by Rev Theory, which is a nice little bit of music to go along with a nice little bit of people getting their asses kicked with no rules, which is, you know. Don't use pop music. Flashback to WrestleMania, that's my grief. Don't use pop music. Don't do it. Anyways, Cody comes out with the paper bag thing again. I want to say the paper bag thing is really lame, but I do get a laugh out of it. I do kind of pop for it as a little bit of comedy. And it's a little bit of comedy that goes with his really dark character, so it becomes like a dark comedy, almost like a creepy thing, so I can deal with it. Cody Rhodes, one of the things that people always notice about Cody Rhodes when he wrestles is that he doesn't wear any knee pads, which makes him look funny regardless of who he's facing. But it brings me to a big point, right? If you're going into a pay-per-view, and this goes for anybody that was on the show tonight, like, more specifically the guys that wear, like, the underwear style tights, where they're pretty much don't have anything on, but if you're going into an entire pay-per-view dedicated to hardcore, no rules, extreme matches, would you not change your clothing? Would you not come out in, like, jeans, or would you not maybe decide to wear knee pads that night, or would you not, you know, if you usually come out with no shirt on, would you not come out in, like, a hoodie or a t-shirt or something different? Key example, Edge. Edge has been Edge. Edge has always worn the same shit to the ring every match he's ever had. When he had his match with Mick Foley at WrestleMania a couple years ago, he came out in, like, beater pants and a belt and a friggin', it was a little vest thing or whatever. And I'm not saying that's not like football equipment, but it's a little bit of a layer between you and whatever you're about to land on. And I don't know, the whole Cody Rhodes no knee pads thing just sort of brought that to a head for me. A little bit of inconsistency. If you're going to be in a hardcore match, you'd probably wear more than underwear. Moving on. Cody hits a nice kick in the aisleway, drop kick to start the match in the aisle. The brawl goes up the rampway. Cody's face meets up nicely a couple times with the Titantron. He is then knocked off the stage, where Rey Mysterio hits an amazing seated senton from the stage to the concrete below the stage. And yes, we all know that they don't really fall on the concrete, but the execution, of the seated senton by Rey Mysterio and the receiving of it by Cody Rhodes were both done quite well. Cody Rhodes gets in a clothesline when he gets back up for a near fall, which is kind of doesn't fit, but whatever. Brawling in the crowd up the aisle steps, beating each other off the railing as they go up the steps between the crowd. Very, very typical until Cody Rhodes wraps Rey Mysterio up in the guardrail in sort of a Boston Crab type maneuver in the rails, which was different and something that I haven't seen before in those kind of crowd type situations. You wouldn't think that in a big brawl somebody would all of a sudden whip out a submission move out of nowhere. They fight all the way to the nosebleeds. They fight through the vendors and the swag shops, and we get into a bit of the silly stuff where they're throwing garbage cans at each other and such and such. Cody Rhodes hits the beautiful disaster sidekick off of one of the counters and gets a near fall on Rey. Rey hits a crossbody off of one of the other snack stands for a near fall. Back into the arena, Cody hip tosses Rey over the rail. Cody front face slams Rey Mysterio onto the ring steps. Rey hits a top rope headbutt on a standing Cody Rhodes, which we haven't seen out of Rey Mysterio before, but it worked. So maybe I hope we'll see it again. Top rope leg drop on Cody Rhodes once he's got him hung up in the ropes. Cody comes back with an Alabama slam. Nobody snaps off the Alabama slam like Cody Rhodes does, except maybe Hardcore Holly, who's not around anymore. So I'm going to say nobody. Cody beats down Rey in the corner, but Rey Mysterio out of nowhere comes out with a mouthful of green mist, a 619 and a splash for the win. With a win that sort of came out of nowhere, green mist that came out of nowhere, and it's kind of like, what the fuck? And I was angry because I wanted Cody Rhodes to win until they panned over to Rey Mysterio, and he's got all this blue-green shit dripping down his face, and he's got this really, really sarcastic, snide sort of look on his face, which gives me a glimmer of hope that Rey Mysterio is going to have a heel turn when he goes to Raw. If Rey Mysterio does a heel turn when he goes to Raw, I will mark the fuck out, and I will not be ashamed of it. But that's the end of the Falls Count Anywhere match. It was, for a Falls Count Anywhere match, it was pretty short. It has to be said. Other than that, I have no problem with this match whatsoever. I do have a problem, however, with after this match, Michael Cole came back to the broadcast booth, and from then on, the commentary goes right into the toilet, as one would expect. The breakup of Laycool match. Layla versus Michelle McCool. Loser leaves WWE. We all knew this was going to happen eventually. There's no reason that this shouldn't have happened at WrestleMania. Should have been these two, like, bitch fighting over in one corner, and, like, Ziggler and Vicky Guerrero versus Morrison and Trish as just a mixed tag match. I think that would have been a much better way to book WrestleMania, but once again, WWE does not listen to me. But yeah. Layla has a big heartfelt goodbye in the back, and it's all sort of, she gets mixed reactions, and you're kind of thinking, okay, whatever. She might be the one that leaves anyway. Michelle McCool starts it off with a cheap shot. Layla comes back with a Louise Thez press, and no, I am not making fun of Lou Thez. I can't remember for the life of me when, but I have heard commentators refer to it, when the Divas do it, as a Louise Thez press. But whatever. Cole eats an... Michelle McCool eats the announce table. Layla eats the announce table twice. They start trading kicks on the outside. Michelle McCool hits a decent-looking, for a diva, a decent-looking belly-to-belly suplex. Michelle McCool hung up on the outside rail and does something on the rail. I don't know what she was trying to do. I really don't. She tries to kick Layla. She gets herself hung up on the rail. They're both up on the rail. They both fall off. I really don't know what it was supposed to be, so it's Botchamania for the win. They get back into the ring. Layla pulls off another decent-looking maneuver for a diva, which amounted to being sort of a somersault stunner, I guess. Like I say, I'm bad at describing shit that doesn't have names, guys, if you haven't figured that out by now, those of you that have been watching me for a while. But it was good anyway. Michelle McCool comes back with a straight kick to Layla's face. Faith breaker is countered into a neck breaker by Layla. Near fall and a rope break. Because at Extreme Rules, where everything is hardcore and there are no rules, there's a rope break. Oh yes. Oh yes, there is a rope break. Anyways, Michelle McCool finally does hit the Faith breaker, but when she goes for the pinfall, Layla reverses and Layla gets the win. We have a very, very sad, crying Michelle McCool in the ring, and all of a sudden we have the debut of Karma, and if you haven't been paying attention, Karma is what WWE has decided to call Awesome Kong. Came in, grabbed Michelle McCool, hit the implant buster on her, and left. I'm pretty sure the WWE is not going to call it the implant buster because of the suggestive nature of that kind of name, but I'm going to call it the implant buster for now until they tell me what they've decided to relabel it. Not a bad debut at all for Karma. Kudos for that. You know, we're going to slowly eradicate the Barbie dolls from WWE. Hopefully. Maybe. Probably not. Alberto Del Rio versus Christian. In by far, by leaps and bounds, the best match of the night. Ladder match for the unclaimed World Heavyweight Championship. And it has to be said, one of the things I marked out for before the match even starts, there's a lot of creative people in WWE crowds, and they all try to come up with something really catchy or really cool or really funny or whatever. One guy wasn't even anywhere near the front, but the cameras panned to him at the back, and all the guy's sign said was Christian, win it for Edge. That's all it said, and I thought that was really cool. If there was any way in hell I could ever figure out who that guy is, I would shake his hand. Not gonna lie. Match starts off with Christian throwing hands and Alberto Del Rio throwing feet. Christian goes for a ladder right away, gets cut off by a body slam by Alberto Del Rio. Christian chokes Alberto over the ropes. Christian then hits Alberto with a second rope shoulder block. Christian gets a ladder. The brawl moves to the outside. Alberto kicks Christian under the ring. I don't know what the significance of this was supposed to be other than it meant that Christian came out on the other side. But Alberto Del Rio grabs the ladder. Christian goes all the way under the ring, comes back across the ring, drop kicks not drop kicks, baseball slide kicks the ladder into Alberto Del Rio's chest. Christian tries to climb. Alberto brings him down. Alberto tries to climb. Christian tosses a ladder at Alberto Del Rio, and Christian hits the enziguri. No, Alberto climbs. Christian tosses the ladder. Alberto, while Christian is tossing the ladder, hits the enziguri on Christian. I cannot read my own shorthand. It's bad like that. Alberto stomps down on Christian hard for a while, for a legitimate long while. Christian back body drops Alberto Del Rio out of the ring. Christian then eats some steps due to Alberto Del Rio. Alberto eats ladder and gets laid out. Christian hits a crossbody ladder from the ladder to Alberto Del Rio on the floor in a little spot at the one corner of the ring, which is a very awkward spot to do stuff on because it's pretty narrow. Because you've got the one side of the ring, the other side of the ring, and that guardrail is rounded. So you figure if they're trying to do something right around the corner of the ring, it would be very, very awkward and very, very narrow spot to do it. But Christian goes from the turnbuckle to the top of the ladder to a splash on Alberto Del Rio, which looks alright. There's a series of reversals. Christian then flapjacks Alberto Del Rio onto a ladder propped up in the corner. Christian then plows Alberto Del Rio off the apron with the ladder. Christian climbs up. Alberto shot to the back with a step ladder. I don't know why there's step ladders in a ladder match, but they come in handy as projectiles apparently. Alberto tries the armbar for a while, for a good 10-15 seconds or so, which is decent. Not his cross arm breaker, I will specify that, but he gets him in a simple armbar, keeps him there for a good 10-15 seconds, and then rakes his arm across a ladder that happens to be next to them. Christian then drop toe holds Alberto Del Rio into a ladder. Oh yes, Alberto is getting his ladder education tonight. Is he not? Christian climbs and Christian climbs up the ladder. Alberto tries to powerbomb him off the ladder. Christian turns it into a head scissor. Christian hits Alberto Del Rio with an outside-in backdrop onto another ladder lying in the ring. Christian on the top turnbuckle. Alberto does his little climb-up enziguri thing. Christian falls onto a ladder. Alberto Del Rio hits a leg drop, elbow drop on Christian. Ricardo Rodriguez gives Alberto Del Rio a chair. Christian tosses it away. Alberto eats post hard. Christian hits him with a spear, which we knew was going to happen at some point, but the crowd went nuts for, and I won't lie, I did too. Christian climbs. Alberto Del Rio pulls Christian through the ladder. Like, if you can picture the ladder being here and him climbing up this way, he pulls him through, so he's stuck. That is not a very good way for me to explain it to you at all, but that's all I've got. Christian, from inside the ladder, tosses it over, and Alberto off of it, obviously, and out to the floor. Alberto tries to put Christian through a ladder that he... Alberto tries to jump on Christian, who is lying on a ladder that was propped between the desk and the ring. Christian moves. Alberto Del Rio himself falls through the ladder in, I don't like Alberto Del Rio, but even I will admit was a pretty dirty looking spot. So I figured he was out. Most of the crowd figured he was out. Christian's going to go up, he's going to get the belt, that's it. No, Christian climbs up the ladder, and Brodus Clay comes in and moves the ladder out of the way. Sorry. Alberto Del Rio comes back into the ring, locks Christian's arm through a ladder into the cross arm breaker until it's broken up by a distraction at the top of the ramp, which is, of course, Edge sitting up at the top of the ramp in a Jeep honking his horn, because that's enough to break up a match. Abso-freaking-lutely. So, Christian tosses Alberto Del Rio off the ladder. Christian climbs the ladder, wins the belt. Everybody's happy. This is what made sense. It made sense because they needed to keep the world title on SmackDown. It made sense because it was a ladder match. It made sense because Edge just retired and Christian was Edge's best friend and tag team partner, and all the fans know it. It made sense because the Mexican JBL, Alberto Del Dorito, does not deserve the World Heavyweight Championship. That is all. Anyways, nice little everybody's happy type moment with Edge and Christian in the ring, you know, sort of symbolically passing the torch, as I think Josh Matthews pointed out, and that's the end of that. Which is fine, but we all know in the WWE that when they do something right, they're going to come back and do 4 or 5 things wrong. We get another bonus match, and you figure, alright, Wade Barrett and Kofi Kingston was a bonus match, and it was, or no, not Wade, whoa, Sheamus and Kofi Kingston, because I'm tired like that, was a decent match, and it was a bonus, so we're going to have another bonus match. Awesome. It's a Lumberjack tag team title match, with Big Show and Kane defending against Wade Barrett and Ezekiel Jackson. And it's like, alright, could you make the disintegration of the core any more obvious? But, the match starts, and it's absolutely nothing. It's 4 big guys lumbering around the ring, until Big Show goes out of the ring and sort of clears out all the Lumberjacks. And basically the Lumberjacks were, okay, call up everybody on Superstars and on NXT that have nothing to do tonight, and we'll tell them they can be Lumberjacks. That was all that was. But, nothing else really special happened other than Ezekiel Jackson getting a really, really impressive looking body slam on the Big Show, going for the cover, and the cover gets broken up by his own tag team partner, Wade Barrett, so that Wade Barrett could try and fail to pull off the wasteland, get shrugged off, get chokeslammed, and they can lose. Oh yes, and if that wasn't enough to make this fun and silly, all the Lumberjacks just sat there and whipped the shit out of each other after the match. So yeah, Big Show and Kane as tag team champions aren't really going anywhere, are they? Cena, Morrison, and Miz for the WWE title triple threat cage match. It has to be said, every time Miz comes out in his wannabe Edge trench coat, it makes me laugh a lot. Match starts off, and it's a lot of really, really average 3-way stuff. Guy 1 beats up Guy 2 until Guy 3 interferes. Guy 3 beats up Guy 2 until Guy 1 interferes. Guy 1 beats up Guy 3 until Guy 2 interferes, and it just keeps overlapping. And it really needs to be said that the first good portion of this match, I was thinking Miz and Morrison could have an amazing match, and Cena is the annoying tick that just won't go away, because he didn't do anything of any worth, really. First really decent thing that happened was the very first time Miz and Morrison were brawling on top of the cage. Morrison brings Miz back in. Cena helps them, and they do a top rope double suplex to the Miz, and Miz ends up landing it like a brainbuster, so I'm pretty sure that did not feel too good. Morrison then hits a standing flux capacitor on Cena. Miz powerbombs Morrison between the cage and the ropes in a fall that looks really, really uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if that's a selling job or whether he just actually did fall really awkwardly. Miz and Cena struggle at the door. Neither one of them gets out, obviously. John Morrison and John Cena battle at the top of the cage. Morrison kicks... As John Morrison and John Cena are battling on top of the cage, Morrison kicks the cage door into Miz's face so that Miz doesn't escape. So Morrison's doing double duty, which is kind of awesome. Cena pulls off after Morrison kicks the door closed on Miz's face, he then falls off the cage and crotches himself on the door, which was a spot that was entirely unnecessary in this match. Miz pulls him from the door back into the cage, and Cena pulls a monkey flip on Morrison. When has Cena ever done a monkey flip? And he should never do it again. Miz hits his beautiful, short DDT thing on Cena, and the Miz begins to beat down Cena a lot. I begin to mark out hard because Cena needs to get beat up more often. Morrison and Miz fight at the top of the cage. Miz eats some cage and goes back down. Miz and Cena battle for a while until Morrison hits the Starship Pain from the top of the cage. Another very, very nicely executed maneuver in this match by John Morrison. Morrison at the door, almost ready to get out, and Truth comes running out because Morrison is coming out head first, hits him with a running knee to skull to ring steps, and brings him back into the match. Truth enters the match out of nowhere because he can, I guess. Beats down Morrison for a while, hits the lie detector on Cena, goes back to beating down Morrison some more, and then escapes the cage, I guess, because I guess he's nuts and he thinks he's going to win the title. But whatever. Miz is the only one not beat down by Truth. Miz tries to escape. Super Cena comes back, hits the Super FU off the top rope, and becomes the champion again. And you can tell how excited I am in my voice by when I say this. I don't know what to say about this match, because yes, I'm a mark for Morrison, but Morrison was the only one in this match that really looked good. Miz was adequate, and Miz was what we expect from the Miz. John Cena didn't belong there, because John Cena recently in the ring just looks like a brick with legs, and is not anything, but, and Cena's the champion again, so, yay. So Morrison's going to fall back down the ladder, have a rivalry with R-Truth, which will be decent, but not what he deserves. Truth will also not move up to the main event spot. He will have the rivalry with Morrison. Miz will go off and fight somebody else and fall back into mediocrity. That is my big fear about the Miz. And Cena will go and brag for another couple of months until Mania next year. So, decent pay-per-view shite ending. Oh yes. So now, it is time once again for me to, first of all, clean off my clipboard because there's way too much scrap paper on it. And it is time for scores, fails, and the MVP of this pay-per-view. Yes, I'm going to start doing this like I do for the Raw reviews because it seems to work. Scores. Obviously the biggest score of the night is Christian becoming the world champion. Secondary score to that is the ladder match in general. As I said, I don't like to give Alberto Del Rio credit because I don't like him. I find him to be an annoying prick. They both pulled their weight in this match. Christian looked as good as he did in this match because Alberto held up his end of the match. Match of the night, by far, Christian's win, and the ladder match itself, first score of the night. Next score of the night was Nexus being banned from the Last Man Standing match. My biggest fear was that Punk was going to get a win in this just because of some gang mentality bullshit, which we've already seen enough of, and it's good that we didn't. I would have liked it, once again, like Mania, I would have liked to have seen Punk win, but I can deal with how the match went because it still went on famously. The Kofi Kingston U.S. title story, I've already kind of went over it. It made sense. He needs a belt. Raw needs a second belt. There's nothing else they really could have done there that would have made any sense, and they pulled it off quite well for a surprise match. I'm going to keep shining R-Truth's heel turn, even though nobody seems to agree with me. I think he's pulling it off quite well, and I think if he keeps doing it like this, and if they've stuck him in as an extra in the main event in the main event match at a pay-per-view, it's a really good indicator that he's getting a push some way. Even if it's not for the world title, they're giving him a push from where he was, which was mostly on Superstars, which was not cool. The last score of tonight will be Karma's debut. Yeah, she picked somebody randomly, attacked them, made her statement, left. Keep it simple. It works. It did work. I liked it. It gets a score. Fails are the commentator match in general. JR, Jim Ross, Jerry the King Lawler are Michael Cole and Jack Swagger. Michael Cole's never going to be taken seriously again ever, so he needs to either become a manager or leave. Jim Ross, I have umpteen respect for Jim Ross, but he should not be in the ring. King can come in and do the occasional match like he does, I don't really mind, and Swagger, like I said, already mourning his career because he's not going to go anywhere. Second fail. The Rey Mysterio and Cody Rhodes match was good. I liked it. It filled the time quite well. I wasn't bored with it in the slightest. It does get a bit silly when they get into the crowds, into the sort of the vending, like, swag shop and snack bar areas, and you're all of a sudden you're beating yourselves up with plastic garbage cans and shit like that. Could have done without some of the silly stuff. Wasn't bad enough to make me not like the match, though. So that's a slight fail, but it's still there. Biggest fail of the night is John Cena being WWE Champion again. I don't care. He should be drafted to fucking NXT, or FCW, or TNA, or ECW, because it doesn't exist anymore. John Cena does not need to be the WWE Champion. Eat it. MVP of the night, nobody's going to agree with me, and I don't give a shit. John Morrison was stuck in a match with a lot of bullshit and still came out of it looking like a rose. I don't care. Bad metaphor again, I'm sorry. But to look as good as he did, up against Super Cena, first of all, up against The Miz, who's getting like the biggest push ever, and to make it through the R-Truth interference bullshit and still come out looking as good as he did in this match, you can't touch that. I mean, you really, really can't. I've said I've already shined Christian winning the world title. He looked as good as he did because the guy he was facing looked as good as he did. Morrison looked good on his own because all the rest of them looked like fucking goofballs by the end of the match. So, yeah, Morrison's the MVP of Extreme Rules. And like I've said a couple times already, I know you don't like it. Say something in the box if you want to. I am done. I am out. It is fucking midnight and I'm going to bed. I will see you later, guys. I've been Spaz. Subscribe up there, talk down there, let me know what you think, don't be a stranger, and I will talk to you later.